You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Okay, wake up, everybody. The game is over, and we have to talk about it. Wow, what a snooze fest in the land. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons Postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. Pistons fall to the Cavs, 110-91, and somebody forgot to tell the Pistons they had a game to play tonight. They were sleepwalking throughout, and I get it, road trip, this long road trip, but these are professional athletes, and the energy level was not there. We'll break it down where it all went wrong and discuss the way the Pistons can bounce back and close out the road trip in Indy with a win. That being said, they still won 4 of their last 6 road games, so I won't go completely unglued, but you get the idea. And then, of course, we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. That's all next on a live Locked On Pistons postcast, your post-game destination for all things Pistons, free and available wherever you get your podcast, and, of course, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. And, oh, by the way, your favorite podcast now is a newsletter introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, and it's delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Today's show made possible by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel is about the only thing that can make the NFL playoffs better because, golly, it's the Chiefs and the Eagles, but I don't need to go down that dark page, and we'll just get right into a Locked On Pistons postcast. Listen, big spot. Cleveland had lost 3 in a row, trying to make a statement. I know the Pistons were and still are in the midst of the long road trip, but it just, you sense this early on. You sense that the shots weren't falling. The defensive game plan, to Cleveland's credit, was to take Cade away in the form of double teams and triple teams, whatever it was, and disguising different defenses and throwing a lot at him. Now, JB Bickerstaff, I just listened to his post-game comments, said, Cade was still getting the shots. He normally makes them. He wasn't. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think it was a concerted effort from the Cavs to take away Cade, and there's just not really a prevalent second option, or really a worthwhile second option, with Jaden Ivey out and continuing to heal from that injury. And I know that sends a longer discussion of, hey, can the Pistons make a move to add some help for Cade? And that remains to be seen. I think those discussions continue to be relevant and ongoing, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But man, tonight was pretty apparent that when Cade is stopped, there's really not much else going on for the Detroit Pistons offensively. And then for the Cavs, I mean, it's not like they were world beaters in that opening quarter. You're looking at both teams shooting very poorly in that first quarter, a low-scoring game. I think both teams shot right around 35% in that opening quarter, 26-23 after one. And eventually Cleveland found their stride because, I mean, they're the best team in the East, for goodness sakes, 37-9, and they had lost 3 in a row coming in. So that being said, I think this was predictable in a lot of ways, but I mean, go up and down this box score, and we'll get into your comments as well. So please do not hesitate from using that comment function on the live YouTube show here. But you look at the production from the Cavaliers, and it's 6 different guys in double figures. It's balanced scoring. I mean, Donovan Mitchell had 21. Garland had 22. Every single starter was in double figures, 15 for Jarrett Allen. Mobley chipped in with 11 plus 12 on the evening, and then Ty Jerome off the bench with 15. And when you shoot as poorly as the Pistons did, and it's not even just shooting, but just out of sync in all facets of the game against a good team like that, the result, again, very, very predictable. But just 39% from the floor, and even worse from the three-point line, 10 of 35, 29% there, and Beasley making half of those. He was 5 of 8 from the long line, and nobody else just contributing for the Pistons besides Beasley with 19, and then of course Cade with 22. So disappointing night tonight. And I love the broadcast. You guys know that I love Blaha and Special K, but it just felt like excuse after excuse because they were tired and playing another road game and against a good team. And I don't know, that rubs me the wrong way when it's a continuous excuse, because the Pistons aren't making an excuse. I listened to JB Bickerstaff post game, and then Beasley post game said it's on us. We got to come out with energy. I mean, it's the National Basketball Association. We're professional athletes. It's word for word what Beasley said, and that's got to be the approach. And I couldn't agree more. So I get it. It's a tough part of the schedule, and you're playing a good team who's looking to end a 3-game skid. And so kind of a tough draw where you play the Magic when they're on a losing skid, trying to, end it a little bit more desperate. You play the Cavs when they're on a little bit of a skid, also desperate to end the losing streak there. Or you can look at it as the other way. And I don't think this is a wrong perspective by any means, but hey, this is the team that's down. Let's kick them while they're down. But the Pistons were unable to do so. So with the loss, Detroit falling back to the 500 mark at 23-23, still above 500 on the road though, 13-12. And as I mentioned, they'll take on the Indiana Pacers. I always want to say Indianapolis because they're in Indiana, but the Pacers for the final game of the road trip, and that'll be Wednesday night. So, of course, we'll have a Locked On Pistons postcast after that one. And this is Locked On Sports Detroit, which I can't believe I've gone almost 7 minutes without reminding you to like Locked On Sports Detroit on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. We're getting closer and closer to the 2,000 subscribers as we continue to provide post-game reaction shows here on the Locked On Sports Detroit page. Reaction shows after Pistons games, baseball season right around the corner for reaction shows after Tigers games, and of course after Lions games, which it's still so painful to say, but hey, I'm optimistic with the Lions moving forward, like the Kelvin Shepherd promotion to defensive coordinator. But let's get into your comments. Dan is up next. He's up first. How about that? Leading us off. Disappointing. It's that sleepy time of the year, though. Are any of the teams really playing with the gas pedal down right now? Yeah, it sounds like another excuse. Why not just keep making excuses for all of these professional athletes and all these pro teams that fly chartered flights to and from their destinations and stay at 5-star hotels and eat 5-star meals? But I get the point you're making. I hear it. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's a chance where the Pistons at the end of the season could be positioning to be out of a play-in spot. I mean, and think about how monumental that would be in year one for JB Bickerstaff to A, make the playoffs, and B, not be in a play-in game. And games like these, I just hate the concept and the mindset of showing up to the arena with no energy. And what's the point of playing the game if that's going to be the case? And again, I think the excuse making from the scheduling and the difficult nature of a lengthy road trip, it comes from external sources and not necessarily the guys that are lacing it up night in and night out. But again, I'm one person with one voice and one opinion. So I've never played at the NBA level. I've played a lot of pickups. So no, I'm messing around. I understand it. It's a grueling stretch of the schedule, but I expected more from the Pistons tonight, especially in that opening quarter. Again, you hold Cleveland to just 26 points in the opening quarter. You'd think you'd feel good about your chances moving forward to at least be in the game. And they just never felt like they were even in the game in this one tonight. Demetrius McNeil's up next. George Blaha was spot on. Tired legs and tired jumpers onto the Pacers. I did like that line. Blaha is always good for a couple of lines throughout the course of a broadcast, but he did say tired legs, tired jumpers, and just nothing really falling for the Detroit Pistons tonight. And again, I think it's a glimpse into how badly the Pistons need someone else to step up scoring wise and how badly they miss Jaden Ivey and perhaps how badly they need to add somebody to accommodate for the loss of Jaden Ivey. M. King, 11. They need better shooting in the starting lineup. Hardaway and Harris need to either fix their shot or be traded. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of teams banging down the doors to get either Tim Hardaway Jr. or Tobias Harris for that matter. It would be nice if they would step up in the absence of Jaden Ivey. And I mean, in some senses, that's trying to fit a square peg into a round hole with Hardaway Jr. I just don't think he has the ability to be a sustained and not even a prolific scorer, but a consistent scorer. I mean, whereas Harris at portions of his career and not too long ago has proven that he can. And I do think there should be more expected out of Tobias Harris. And it's another night where he just wasn't good. And you look at his final stat line, I mean, 2 points in 27 minutes. That's not good enough. And 1 of 9 from the floor, 0 of 4 from the long line, minus 20. What is Tobias Harris doing to help this Detroit Pistons team win? And the answer is nothing. He's hindering that. And it's disappointing because, again, he's one that you would turn to and say, hey, Jaden Ivey is out. Cade needs somebody else to step up. And it hasn't gone that way. So perhaps his best years behind him, but maybe this is just a tough stretch as well. So appreciate everybody tuning in. I've gone a little long in this opening segment. My apologies for that. We'll look at the upcoming schedule, and as always, take your comments as we recap a loss for the Detroit Pistons to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 110-91, the final in this one. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons POSTCAST is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You know the drill by now. FanDuel. Listen up. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Listen, I think we can all agree the only way to stomach the Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs is to throw a bunch of money on a bunch of different bets, because otherwise it's going to be infuriating and nauseating to either watch Patrick Mahomes hoist his third straight Lombardi or the Philadelphia Eagles fans be excited. You know where I'm going with this. It's going to be brutal. I don't even know how I'm going to watch it, so I'm going to have to put some money on FanDuel in order to make this Super Bowl even doable. So download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake, my friends. So download the app, head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, here we go. Pistons fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Maybe I'm missing something, but it just felt like sleepwalking. It felt like a snooze fest. It felt like a step backwards just in terms of a lack of energy, of a lack of execution. And when it rains, it pours. And I think, honestly, the Pistons, for as poorly as they played tonight, were lucky it wasn't a 40-point loss and just a 19-point loss, because the Cavs, I don't think they were at their best. And there were some things, sure, there's a little bit of they showed a little bit of life there late in the third quarter with the 6-0 run. Start to get a little bit excited, think, can you cut it to single digits before the fourth, but no such luck. The Cavs outscore the Pistons in each of the four quarters, trailed by 3 after 1, and then by 10 at the break, and then 15 after 3 quarters of play. So that being said, just never really had it tonight, and you fall back to 500. Now, remaining schedule, and yes, the road trip is what we're referring to with just the game left against the Pacers, but after that, you go home to play the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Mavericks are a team that have been decimated with injuries. Obviously, Luka Doncic is out, but a number of their supporting cast members are out as well. And so that's an opportunity, a game that you look at, and maybe you got a chance there. You got a chance against the Pacers, of course. And then the Bulls come to town. That's a game you should win as well. and then it's the Atlanta Hawks. So you've got 3 home games right there that you feel pretty good about your chances. The Pistons beat up on the Hawks the last time they played on January the 22nd, less than a week ago, winning that one by 10, 114 to 104. Really felt like more after that. And then the same Cavaliers, you get a chance to avenge tonight's ugly loss with a game at home on February the 5th. That one tips off at 7, and then you take on the 76ers. So in that, and then the Hornets come to town. So let's count that up. That's a long homestand. Kind of crazy the way the schedule works out between the long road trips, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home games with the Mavs, Bulls, Hawks, Cavs, 76ers, and Hornets. I'm going to get greedy and say perhaps maybe 5 out of those 6 or 4 out of those 6. Either way, looking ahead, you gotta, this is an opportunity in the schedule. You're at home playing some inferior opponents. You got to go out and get some. But of course, that's why they play the game in the National Basketball Association. There's nothing guaranteed. That being said, I appreciate everybody tuning in to the Locked On Pistons postcast. Up next, the Pistons will take on the Indiana Pacers, who, as I mentioned, that's a game you want to go get and finish this road trip on a high note, on a positive note with a win. And it's a road trip that, yes, the Pistons have lost 2 in a row now, but you look at how this road trip started with wins over a really good Houston Rockets team and then that Atlanta Hawks team. So now 2-2 on the road trip with a chance to finish 500 or above 500 at 3-2, which of course you would take. All right, we're going to wrap it up with our studs and duds. As you can imagine, a lot more duds than studs, but some of my duds might surprise you. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. It's the Locked On Pistons postcast. Studs and duds portion of the program, recapping a blowout loss for the Pistons, 110-91. I say blowout because it just never felt like the Pistons had a chance in this one. I mean, they didn't lose by 30, they didn't lose by 40. You know, it's a 19-point loss against a good Cavaliers team. But you ask anybody, you watch this game from start to finish, it never felt like the Pistons had a chance in this one. So studs and duds, again, this is going to be brutally honest. That's the point of this segment. If you've got your own studs and duds, I would love to read them on the live version of the show. If you're catching the audio only version, appreciate that option as well on Locked On Pistons on that page. But the first dud, and it's highlighted, it's circled, it's underlined in bold, whatever you want to call it. Tobias Harris, 27 minutes, 2 points, minus 20, 1 of 9 from the floor, nothing of 4 from 3-point land. You just got to be better. I mean, the stat line speaks for itself. No ability to impact the game, no ability to provide any sort of meaningful contribution on the offensive end on a night you desperately needed it. So try not to go off on him per se, but Tobias Harris has to be better. Tim Hardaway Jr., not much better. Just the 8 points. He was minus 12. Jalen Duren was minus 17 in this one, and he scored the 12 points, had 3 blocks, 15 rebounds. So I don't know if I can necessarily throw him in the dud category, but collectively as a unit, this Pistons starting 5 just not good in any sense of the way. Off the bench, Malik Beasley, I'll give him a stud, 19 points and 5 of 8 from the long line, the only source of life. But again, wasn't exactly lighting this world on fire. Same with Marcus Sasser, who I think it was either Blaha or Special K said he's making a really, really good case to get more playing time. So it'll be interesting to see if he does get more playing time with how he played tonight. But 11 points and 5 assists in only 19 minutes. So he was one of the few guys that was actually operating with a pulse out there for the Pistons. Cade, tough night. You know, he's 22 points, minus 16, 7 assists, and 9 of 26 from the floor. 4 of 4 from the line, nothing of 4 from the 3-point line. So, I'm not going to use the term abysmal or egregious or anything like that. His shot wasn't falling tonight for the Pistons, and that was kind of indicative of how the night goes for the Pistons. Over on the other side, I mean, this Cavs team, I think the way they played in the second half is worthy of a stud performance. I mean, nothing really – that's the thing about watching this game. Maybe I just – am looking at it too critically, but nothing really stood out to me in this game. It was like watching paint dry at times. I mean, there just really wasn't enough to draw you in as a viewer. And I'll admit it, I've got the Red Wings on the other monitor, and they get the win tonight, which you love to see. That's 3 in a row for the Red Wings. And, wanting to dial up anything I can from this game. There are nights in the National Basketball Association where your team just doesn't have it. And I'm not going to accuse them of mailing it in or packing it in, but again, the energy wasn't there, and it just was, if you're watching it, trying to manufacture something to happen as a fan, it's a tough space to be in. And sometimes I felt like that watching this one tonight. So Cavs have won both games in this series. And again, the Pistons will play Cleveland 2 more times. And up next, that game on February the 5th, and that'll be at LCA. The last game of the season between the Cavaliers will also be at LCA. That's towards the end of the regular season on March 28th. In fact, that might even be the last game of the regular season. That's certainly pretty late. No, am I kidding? They go into April. Towards the end of the season, but no, my bad. There's several games in April, so that's on me. That is on me. But Pistons fall tonight. We got another comment to take from Dwayne Pritchett. Pistons think they are tough. You see how teams are punking us. Stewart and Ron and Holland talk S, but you can't score. Cade is turning into a ball hog, trying to be an all-star. His job is to get his team shots. We can break that down. I have mentioned my displeasure of the wannabe tough guy act at times. I think it's a lot more effective to be quote unquote tough when you go out and win games and you take opposing teams' wills and take their soul. And that looks different than getting those, punk technical fouls that seemingly Isaiah Stewart gets night in and night out. And, I saw some videos going around on Twitter and social media that the rest of the NBA knows exactly who the Pistons are. They're not tough. They're chippy. And, again, I think winning just changes all of that. You win games, then you can be tough, and I'm not saying back down by any means, but every single play needs to be a play that helps your team win. And the pointless technical fouls don't help your team win. So I get that sentiment that it's frustrating at times. And I've shared my frustration. I disagree with the Cade part because, you can't call a guy a ball hog when there's really no other viable scoring option at this point in the lineup. And some of that is on roster construction, and some of that is on other guys' inability to step up. So I appreciate the comment, though. I really do, because I share a lot of those same sentiments as far as the frustration over, the difference, the margin between punk and tough is sometimes thin, and, each individual situation can dictate it a little bit more. But I would agree that at times it's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, just go play ball and go win games. That's all your fans want from you. And the rest of the personality and aura and persona of the team, that will develop organically if you go out and win games. And I do think sometimes they get distracted by the need to try to impose this aura of tough, physical. And again, it looks different night in and night out. But, those teams, the going to work Pistons teams, why they were tough. Absolutely. They were chippy. They were hard nosed, but they won games. And so all of that, especially when you're, getting blown out by 30, none of it really means anything if in fact the favorable results don't follow. But that's my 2 cents on it. And I hope I addressed that comment in a complete manner there for Dwayne. But appreciate all the comments as always. Frustrating night tonight, not going to lie. And we'll try to do better on Wednesday, where the Pistons take on the Indiana Pacers from Indianapolis. So thanks as always for tuning in. My reminder to like Locked On Sports Detroit and like today's video, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. We're also working on some plans to do some more content as far as YouTube shorts and all that good stuff that goes along with the YouTube algorithm. So good stuff there. Shout out to Locked On for the platform. As always, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, on YouTube, Locked On Sports Detroit. Don't forget your favorite podcast has a newsletter, Locked On Pistons Daily. It's your one-stop shop for all things Detroit Pistons, and it's a free newsletter delivered right to your inbox. So make sure you sign up at lockedondaily.com. My name is Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. Pistons fall tonight to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Never close, 110-91. Back to 500 at 23-23. Try to do better on Wednesday as the long road trip wraps up in Indiana against the Pacers. We'll have a Locked On Pistons postcast after that game, so make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time on Locked On Sports Detroit.